First of all, my name is Alan Gitlin. I work in the industry. I've worked in the industry almost 30 years as a cinematographer, producer. I've produced a couple of movies. I've shot a couple of movies. I work constantly in both television and feature films. So I've run the gamut. I've been very fortunate. I've shot around the world. I've seen things that, the average individual would never experience. That's one of the perks of being in this industry and doing what you love and being on location. So I'm very passionate about it. And I was so passionate, I actually became an officer of the camera Local 600, IATSC Local 600 for 10 years. So I worked very hard to make sure that not only the workers, the camera departments, as well as the publicists were covered under the contracts that were negotiated between the producers and the IATSC. So that being said, I would like to go around the room, have everybody introduce themselves, tell me what your background is and what you're currently working on and what do you hope to get out of this class today. Okay, let's start with Karen.
So I'm Karen, and I'm actually a novelist as opposed to a
Try to
screenwriter.
speak up.
Yeah.
Sorry. Turn and face them, yeah.
I'm Karen, and I'm working on my 6th novel. And I attend these classes because I think they help me become a better novelist. And also learning something maybe someday they'll never be made into a movie, who knows? But I just wanted to get a general love of the craft through these classes.
Okay.
I'm Charlotte Hunter. In another lifetime, I worked for the De Laurentiis on location in Bora Bora. I've had a career as an archaeologist, and so I'm writing a murder mystery and at the same time playing with turning it into a script. And I just retired, so I'm new at all of this.
Very good. Very committed. Yes, sir.
Don Hoffmeister. I've worked on government projects of various kinds for 40 or so years. I've written about 9 screenplays. I'm rewriting one of them right now to fit more into a trilogy format with a couple of the other ones.
And you've already spoken.
Yeah. What was your
Mike?
name again? Mike Colonna. I from Long Beach area, grew up in Chicago, and my childhood dream was to work in the movie studio business. And when I was a kid, we used to watch Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis and all those guys on the Ed Sullivan Show. And when I wound up in Long Beach out of college, I had a fortunate prospect of working at NBC. Started out as an NBC page in beautiful downtown Burbank. Worked on all the big shows. That was the golden age of television. And wrote news for Tom Brokaw and Robert Abernathy and all the guys back in the late 60s. Charlie was a little word after me, but he's a lot older than I am. But to make a long story short, I love this. I took a class at Golden West College about 6 years ago. Started on my script, and I probably have rewritten it maybe 8 or 9 times. And I'm starting to be happy with it. And plus, I've got a lot of other ideas on different shows that you can check them out at a website I've got called Sizzleflix, SIZZLEFLIX.com. And if you want to check out some of the stuff that I'm working on, you can do that. Sizzleflix.com.
Very good.
I'm
Sure.
Shirley Rose, and I started writing scripts in the early 1990s. I brought in a little handout of the class that I took at that time. And in the 2000s, I made 2 documentaries and a feature on my own. And I'm developing a lot of other stuff. One of the things is a series for Hallmark right now. So I'm in the process of trying to finish a bunch of scripts and get a bunch of ideas on.
Very good.
My name is Connie Danetta, and I was born into a show business family. My personal life is that I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts for a few years, and then I took time out to raise my daughter. And I've been in improv companies in Los Angeles, the LA Connection, as it were. I was part of the Cast Theater, and for the last 15 years I've been writing and I'm traveling. And so I decided to write memoirs about my family because everybody else is very popular in the business. And then I met Janelle at the Palm Spring Writers Guild, and I said, you know, I really need to write a treatment. Do you think I could join your group just to see who's what here? And she says, of course. So then I found out treatments were extinct while I joined here. And so then I thought what I'd have to do is write a summary and eventually maybe a script. But I really want to write a memoirs. I've been in writing class for 15 years. So I really want to write memoirs about my father with no education and my brothers in the music business. And I also was part of the agency that brought all the people who are doing old cello right now, the Rolling Stones. I work for Frank Barcelona in the music business. So I've had a taste of it. I don't like show business. I love art.
What nationality are you?
I am a very proud American Sicilian. Hi, Sicilian.
Yes, sir.
Hi, I kind of walked in there, I'm not sure what we're doing here, but I kind of.
We're just introducing ourselves. I want to kind of get an idea of who does what and the experience level.
I'm Ron Delaney. I am currently working on a novel, which is based on a screenplay that I completed 3 years ago. And the reason I'm writing the novel is I've heard it's harder than hell to break into Hollywood with just a screenplay in hand. So I figured if I wrote a novel based on the screenplay, I could get it reviewed, blah, 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 eventually turn it back into the screenplay I want to make in the first place. So that's my strategy. I've been writing for about 15 years. Prior to that, I was an academic in other fields, doing a lot of writing, but not creatively. And so now I'm doing this and loving it, and hope to eventually get back to that screenplay, and that's why I'm here.
Very good. Yes, sir.
I'm Dennis Hauk. I am here hoping to learn. I have enough exposure to media over the years, obviously, and have done a few things. This is my first attempt at screenwriting, which is something that I feel is I need to speak on. And I've been working on a story and a few other things here and there, which is going to be a little bit more fun, a little bit more challenging than what I thought. But at least I'm learning to write something other than checks, which I've been writing for the last 20 years. So just my day job is one of the oldest professions. I'm a landlord, so I do that stuff every now and then. But nonetheless, I'm good.
Very good.
It's a good title for
My name is Mike Romano.
Right, something like that.
I self-published one book. I have another book on Amazon. I actually got an article published in Palm Springs Life magazine a few years back, and I'm in the process of trying to get my 2 books into script.
Very good. Yes,
Hi,
ma'am.
I'm Norma Whitney. I'm a nurse. I've been a nurse for 20 years. Before that, I worked in the hotel industry. I actually worked for Gematry at his hotel. Was director of sales and marketing for 3 years. I'm finishing up my screenplay, my first screenplay. Putting the dots and the periods in them. But, so I'm looking for, and I'm also writing a novel, a second novel, which, for backup, if they like the screenplay, they always want to know if you have something else.
Sure.
So that's pretty much what. I worked in the health industry. I was risk manager of a hospital for 5 years, and so the things I write about are mostly healthcare and pertinent issues today in a fictional way.
Very good. And this young lady you just walked in?
What was the question?
We're introducing ourselves and telling us a little bit about yourself, background, and what you're involved in project-wise, or what you're writing.
Okay. My name is Carla Howard.
Pick up this little-
I'm sorry, my name is Carla Howard. And I've been writing all my life, but in different kinds of writing. I've been writing and editing for magazines. I've written a little cookbook for Sunnylands. I've written real estate copy. I'm nicely psychic doing real estate copy. And so this is the one area that I started out wanting to write, and I'm coming back to it at last. And the project I'm working on is for a mini-series, hopefully, and takes place in Washington, New York during World War II.
Very good. Very good. You know, does everybody know you, or?
Yeah, they know me.
Okay, so I guess she's fine. So I kind of divided this up into 3 parts. First of all, let me see a show of hands. How many people have been on a set before? Okay, very good. Because I think that gives you an insight. I mean, I've been on sets close to 30 years, and I remember doing my first movie was a movie called The Alamo, 13 Days to Glory. It was with Raul Julia, Alec Baldwin, and James Arness. And I remember going on, and we did the scene of Santa Ana coming into the Alamo, and Raul Julia's on his white horse with the regalia and stuff like that. I went, oh my gosh, this is Hollywood. It was the most startling and realistic sense of the industry. And I said, this is it. I really love this business. So I've continued to do it. I've got over 60 credits, and people ask me all the time, what was your best, or what the best experience? They run together. I can't even tell you all, who I've worked with or what I've done. But, it's like asking the doctor, what was your most successful operation? Well, he's got, hundreds or thousands. So, but anyways, it's a great fulfilling job. I love being in the creative side. I love seeing my work on the screen. I love seeing the fact that people are entertained, or they got something out of the hard work that I put into it. So that's what keeps me going. So I've got probably another 4 or 5 years before I actually take retirement, and I won't know whether I'll be ready to do it. But so I'm starting to transition. I've got 2 projects myself that I'm writing. I have a writing partner. He was a news director at one of the major networks. And he's been a real wealth and support to help me organize my thoughts. So that's currently what I'm working on. So I'm going to pass something out today. This is proprietary. This is from a movie that I just finished working on. And it's a call sheet. This is the very basic element once a show goes into production, and shows you what a day's work is like. So every day when you're on a show, at the end of the day, they figure out what, this is the basic elements that the whole show centers their work around. Everybody have a copy? So this is an Adam Sandler picture that I just finished working on. So we can go from top to bottom on this. This is the day's work. It was an exterior of a pool house, and there was a wedding involved in this. So these are all the different scenes that were scheduled to shoot that day. So the left column is the description of the scenes. The next column is the scene number. The next column is the cast. And the cast is listed below, so you can see that it's 1, 2, 3, 4, and you can see who was called in for that day to do that particular scene. The next column is the pages shot. So in other words, when you've got your script, you do that 59 part was a page and 4/8, so it's almost a page and a half. and then any other notes that they would put over in the right column. So the next portion is the cast. The next portion talks about stand-ins or any other working staff for the set from the actor's side. Then they talk about the background is the next set down, the next component down. Then there's special instructions that all department heads look at. So for camera, we have a splash bag. What that meant is that the camera was going to be in the pool, so we had the day before you have to order a splash bag so the camera can go into the pool and not be damaged. So this is done by the AD staff. All these components are pulled out of the script. They'll go through with a fine-tooth comb and know that it says we're going to be in the pool. The camera department needs to have a splash bag. So the other departments had they had 3 Dobermans that day. That's why we had so many cameras. And these Dobermans jumped into the pool to get chase the ball. So they have the animals in there. Their schedule. So all the different departments are listed there. So costumes, cascading in water, making sure that they have enough towels that they're not, that they don't freeze when they get out. But it was 100 degrees that day, so it didn't matter. And then the next component down is the next day's work. As you can see, if there's anything that wasn't done, they would have probably dropped it on there for the next day's work. And then on the back are all the different departments. Now this is a very significant piece of information if you've never really been involved in the elements of working on a set. All the different departments that are involved in making a movie. Everyone from production, which is the director, the unit production manager, the ADs, the production assistants, and the script supervisor. They usually don't put script under production staff, but that's the way they did it. Then the camera department. Then they had a backup video department. They had a video assist, so if the director wanted to look back and see what they shot, that person captured it. So there's lighting, there's electric. The rigging is usually the electric crew that goes the day before to make sure that the lights are set up in the proper place. And so the crew can just walk in and be probably 80% ready to do the shot, and then they'll tweak it. So there's the grips. Everybody know what a grip is? That's the muscle on the set. They move the sandbags, they do the riggings, they do the grifflons. You don't have a copy of this?
Call sheet?
Yeah.
I don't know for sure, thank you.
There you go.
What does OC mean?
On call.
Oh, thank you.
So usually those are people like you've seen on the rigging electric. So they'll get with the first unit cameraman and say, all right, we're going to shoot in this warehouse. We got this component. Here's what we need to do. How long is it going to take you to rig that warehouse? Well, so many lights. We've got to run the electric. We've got to put the jimmy someplace. Probably needs to take 8 hours. Okay, take your own call. We'll have the equipment there, and you'll get started. So there's many departments that are like that. Where they're not sure where they might, start, or that's something that's determined at the end of work that day. So they'll just be given their own call. So there's the grip, the sound department, special effects. Those people are on call. These are the guys that have to figure out if they're going to have to put the city behind where the pool is. So these are all things that are talked about before you start the movie in pre-production, and now everybody's cataloged and scheduled. So as that day comes up, they know what their responsibility is for that day. Additional personnel. We had a crane. In fact, we had 2 cranes that day. They had the animal wranglers that I showed you on the front. There were 3 Dobermans. This is where the staffing is listed, and everybody knows what their call time is. The makeup department is self-explanatory. As you can see, we had an 8:30 call that day. Some of them come in fairly early, almost 2 hours earlier than call time. These didn't have such extremes. Costume department, they're also on call. They had many extras that day, so they staff up accordingly, but they will be given their own call time. Art department, very critical. This works under the art director. You know, we need to have a window over here that in this scene, this is how we're going to shoot it. So they work with the director and they know what they're going to have. So that's the explanation on that. Construction works with the art department. If they need to have anything built, like a 3-wall set, these people can do it. Or if they need to do a door frame or a backing, like if you do a shot exiting a door, you don't want to look off the set, you know, and see the walls of the stage. You have to have what they call a return. So the art department or the construction department will build that. The property department, those are the props. Visual effects, as I mentioned, they're on call. Craft service, the most important department on the set. It's a lowly job, but I gotta tell you, when you've got great craft service, your crew responds and they stay hydrated and they stay fed and they're able to work the long, tedious hours. Because, you know, I can't tell you in my last 3 years I haven't done a show that wasn't a minimum of a 12-hour day. I've done a 16-hour day, 18-hour day, just because you've got crew, location, you know, so many items that are dependent on getting the shots that you need before you leave that location. If you're not going to be able to come back to that location, you put the hours in to make sure the shots are done. So it gets pretty grueling. Post-production, they're on call. That's the editor, the assistant editor. And someone had asked me earlier, I forgot who asked me, but editors, a lot of time when you're shooting a movie or even TV, the editors are cutting alongside of you. So they get the footage from the previous day, they get it the next morning, and they start cutting it so the director can see a rough cut of how the scene works. And at that point, the editor can say, hey, you know, we missed a close-up, or we needed an over-the-shoulder shot to transition this, you know, the scene to go further. So I've always found it a very critical component to have the editor cutting alongside when you're shooting your movie. Some producers get a little dollar foolish, you know, and they go, no, we don't need it. He'll just cut it at the end. That's when you're running the problems. You never know if you have the right shot or the scene works or there's a misdirection of a look. So I've always felt if I was producing the movie, I'd have my editor cutting along as the show started. Production office is pretty self-explanatory. They're making all the logistical calls. The assistants to all the producers. The accounting department, they're on call, but they're processing not only the bills, but the time card, run the cables to the set for power. I mean, there's so many elements that go into making a project, a motion picture or a film, you know, or a TV show. So there are certain books that like the payroll companies put out, that the art director gets paid this. This is what the grips get paid. This is what the rigging grips get paid. So there are guidelines. But the unknown is, one, they haven't picked a location. It could be $5,000, it could be $100,000, depending on how important this is and the budget range that the movie's going to be in. So a lot of times a line producer or a unit production manager will be given a script. He's got about a week to break it down. He knows that this is either going to be a low-budget film, a mid-budget film, or a high-budget film. Many of the determining factors: who's associated with the show, what actor is attached to the project, what director is attached to the project, how much emphasis is the studio putting in to support this project. I mean, there's so many balls that need to be juggled to figure out how to price a movie. So, and of course, when you price the movie, there's always a contingency. They always put it in, and especially if it's an independent show, then you have a bond company that gets involved. And what the bond company does says, you 10 people over there putting your money into this show, you will be protected because we're going to oversee it. That's also a line item in the budget. So if they come in there's a contingency involved, usually 20% of the budget below the line. That's a key I didn't tell everybody. If I were to say the people that work below the line, do you know what that means?
No.
Okay, if you look at the call sheet, everybody below this line where the actors are considered the crew, basic crew. So if you ever hear that line, you say, well, the below the line crew are gonna cost X amount of dollars. That was the term that came up, that, you know, on call sheets, the old days, they used to type these things, and it was below the line. Everybody below the line, everybody on the back except for the director. The director is considered above the line.
So it's the producer, director, actor, and writer that's above the line?
Writers, not. It depends on how it's set up. But most of the times the writers are not above the line. They're usually a hired gun, unless they bring the project in and they're attached as a producer. So everyone, you know, it's like a snowflake. Everyone is different, and when they hit the ground, it dissolves. Every project is different. So,
What's that mean with respect to who gets paid what?
well, an actor will be negotiated his rate by his agent.
It doesn't have anything to do with if the movie makes money or something?
No. No, the only way that would enter into it is if the actor negotiated a end of movie profit participation. You know, he'll say, well, you normally get $100,000, but if you'll take $80,000, I'll give you a point on the movie. So that's always, you know, that's the agents that get involved, you know. And if you take 75,000, we'll throw in the motorhome for you that you can have over here. So I mean, you're laughing, but I've heard these deals are made like that. You know, the more aggressive your agent is, the more you get when the comforts that you need on the set to, you know, learn your lines and make sure you deliver them when you got a whole crew standing. So anyway, yes, ma'am.
So this is number 10 out of 40, so this is a 40-day shoot?
Yes.
And then secondly, down there, it says second team lineup of SC-59. There has to be an entire second team?
Well, in this movie, since it's Adam Sandler, yes, he's got his entourage who travels with him. So a bunch of these people were people that he's done on all his Happy Madison projects.
But it's not another, like, group of people that if somebody doesn't work out, that these people step in?
No. Basically, they're there for lighting and blocking. So in other words, on most movies, the first thing in the set when the call time is hit, the 80s will call everybody in. They'll have a private rehearsal. All the actors will come in and they'll do their stuff. And I think I need to walk over here, and they go over here, and we'll come over here. And everyone will see that initial blocking and reading of the lines. Then they'll call in the department heads. All right, here's the scene, here's how we're going to do it, we're going to go over there, the actors will walk their lines again, everyone sees where the lights have to go, where the window is, where the table is, you know. So all these elements come into blocking your scene. And that's what once the actors then go to hair and makeup, they usually come in and they got rollers in their hair and they're all drinking coffee, and there's also what they call sides. Does anybody know what that is? Sides are a small version of the script that's being shot that day. So if it's scene 59 and what else, 58, it's sides, so the actor can look real quickly. Right, and you know, then they have that as a reference. So usually the PAs on the set that day will have the sides. So it's a reference not only to some of the crew, but also to the actors that they'll keep around, and they'll make their notes on it that I have to walk to camera left to get this component and da-da-da-da. So that's another part of it. Yes, ma'am?
Why does it go in this order? Like, why is camera second and?
Camera superior, that's why. You don't have a movie if you don't have cameramen. I don't know. It's, you know, everybody has their own. You know, every studio actually has their own format for their call sheets. So it could be the AD's format that he has in his computer. He wants to set it up this way. I don't know. But usually, if you really look at the hierarchy on the set, let's talk about this. So who do you think's on the top of the hierarchy of the set?
Director.
Studio.
Very good. The director. Who's the next?
First AD and UGM.
No,
Producer.
no, the actors.
Ah.
Okay? And then below that, who do you think's the next department that's,
Camera.
that's right. Those are the three components that are essential to making the movie. Theoretically, if you didn't have hair and makeup, didn't have costumes, you can still make your movie because you can shoot the camera. So in previous years where there's been like a work action, they shut the show down because they weren't, paying attention to the contract. When the Teamsters lock up the camera truck, guess what? You can't make a movie. So that's the first department that's always targeted in any type of situation like that. But that's basically the hierarchy. And if you look at the nucleus on a set, really, and there's the scene going on, you've got, let's say, two cameras shooting, a wide and a tight. You've got your camera operators, you've got your first assistant cameraman, they keep the camera in focus, and the director and the actors. And the cinematographer's watching back there to make sure that both cameras get the shots that are needed. So that's usually the nucleus of a set crew. Yes, sir.
What was the approximate budget for this movie?
This is a Netflix show. I heard rumored $45 million. There were 3 of them that Adam got approved. I think this is the 3rd one in the trilogy. But this took him out of he was a staple at Sony. And Netflix approached him and they gave him these package of 3, and this is the